Remove your helmet and tell me your name.
My name is Javert!
Strength and honor, and my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the Northern Legions and the Phoenix. Everyone forgets this. Everyone forgets this part of the monologue. Everyone just goes straight to husband to a murdered wife and father to a murdered son. Everyone forgets that. So in anticipation for Ridley Scott's Gladiator II, yeah, I'd say we'll call that anticipation. I'm looking forward to it. The trailers look good, minus the inclusion of Kanye West's song. I don't know why that was in the historical trailer. Not that it's a bad song, it's just, what is, you know, a contemporary rap, I mean, it's contemporary, you know what I mean? What is a modern day rap song doing in my Gladiator historical epic? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, in celebration of Gladiator 2 releasing, I thought it would be fun to do a movie commentary on Gladiator 2000, the year I was born. This is going to be a fun one because this one's great. I love doing movie commentaries on a movie that I just love. You know, it sets a completely different tone and vibe. This movie is fantastic, and earlier this year, 2024, not to date the video or anything, but I saw this film in the cinema. And honestly, when you watch a film that you really like in the cinema for the first time, it's like a completely different experience. It's like you're watching the film the way it's intended to be. And it's such a great experience because I've liked this film. Like, I've really liked it. But watching it in the cinema, I was like, yeah, I get why people love it. This movie is like, it's so good. It is one of those movies that has to be watched on the big screen for you to go, yeah, this is incredible. I mean, if you watch it for the first time on streaming or on DVD or Blu-ray, like, yes, you get a good experience. You're like, yes, this is a great film. But you haven't truly seen this film until you see it in the cinema. I don't know why modern day Hollywood and streaming studios are like obsessed with like trying to kill their business model. It doesn't make any sense. But that is a conversation and topic for another time. Today we're talking about Gladiator, and yeah, I say I've rambled on enough. Let's just get straight into this. But before we get into the movie commentary, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok. It's all down in the description. Also, check out my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. Before we get into the video, I just want to quickly plug my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. Keep the spark alive. As dreamer and optimist E.F. Manar must find a way to keep his hopes and passions alive in a cynical world. Inspired by Wonka and The Greatest Showman, a lot of time, effort, love, and passion was put into this project, so I would really appreciate it if you guys could give it a watch. The film is linked down below in the description, and it's also on the homepage of my YouTube channel. I hope you guys watch it and really enjoy it. Anyways, back to the video. And yeah, I think that's everything. So without further ado, let's get into the commentary for Gladiator. Also, you know a film is going to be great when a movie studio has purposefully designed their logo to fit the theme of the film. Like this sepia tint over the old Universal logo, it makes sense. It works. It sets the tone. God, what a shot. What an absolutely iconic, amazing shot. I love this shot. It's just, there's something about it. There's such a beautiful, like, earthly connection with Maximus. That's a theme with Maximus. He's very much connected and grounded to nature. Also, fun fact, the IMDb X-ray just told me that isn't Russell Crowe's hand. It's actually his stunt double's hand. Okay, so fun little story, and bear in mind this is me remembering an interview Russell Crowe gave. This bit where Maximus is looking at the bird, this is actually Russell Crowe being shit-tested by Ridley Scott. Like, Ridley Scott was just like, oh, Russell, I'm gonna test how good of an actor you are. So, pretend there's a bird just, you know, hovering about. Just, and follow it, and smile and appreciate it. If I'm remembering it correctly, there is no bird, and this is Russell Crowe just looking at nothing, and then they intersplice the bird in the film. Which is a pretty cool and fun story, and just, it's classic Ridley Scott. Like, if you've heard stories or you've seen interviews with Ridley Scott, you know he's kind of chaotic, you know he's kind of like, he just throws shit at you, and you're just like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is the kind of guy we're dealing with. I love that story. Also, speaking of Russell Crowe won an Oscar for this film. And do you know what? This is a performance where, like, Russell Crowe is great. There is not me denying the fantastic, you know, performance of Russell Crowe in this film. He is great. But when you think about the characters in this film, and, you know, specifically the character of Maximus, like, there isn't, like, too much, like, acting required. It's just, you know, you've got to be all like stoic. Like when we see him appear and stuff, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but like Joaquin Phoenix should have won the Oscar for this film. I mean, they're in different categories. Like out of the two main male leads, Joaquin, like, That's who you give the Oscar to. Not disputing Crow's performance at all. I think Crow is fantastic in this, and I like him in like pretty much everything else I've seen him in.
And I'm Javert.
But to win an award for Maximus, I don't really see it. So much of this score reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean, because if I remember the story correctly, Hans Zimmer was composing stuff for Gladiator and Pirates of the Caribbean roughly at the same time, not to mention the fact that Pirates of the Caribbean's composer, Klaus Badelt, he was Hans Zimmer's understudy, and so a lot of the reason why Pirates of the Caribbean and Gladiator sound the same is because they were kind of being written at the same time, I think. I remember Hans explaining this better in an interview. Like, when you get into the big action set pieces of the film, mainly the battle stuff, and you hear dun 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 dun, I'm like, it's just Pirates of the Caribbean. That is just Pirates of the Caribbean, like, come on. So this is a 90s and a 2000s trope that I don't love. It's a filmmaking trope that they use, which was mainly using a low shutter speed, or if anything, just stretching the frames to create a slow motion effect. I hate it. It's in this, it's in Lord of the Rings. I hate this effect. It looks so cheap and tacky and really outdated. It bothers me more in Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings has like actual like full-on slow motion, like full-on smooth 60 frames, 120 frames like per second slow motion. This film, from what I remember, does not, but even still, it's a thing I hate. It just looks so cheap and jittery. I don't like it. And it's throughout this whole Battle of Germania sequence, and just, I'm not a fan of it. And speaking of the Battle of Germania sequence, I think it is shot fine. Like, it's not the best shot battle ever or anything. Like, it's done well enough. But I remember the multiple times I've seen this film, I'm just like, realistically, I don't love the Battle of Germania stuff. Like, it's fine, but that's not what makes me really engage in the film. That's not where I'm like, yeah, this is Gladiator. This is all fine, but we haven't gotten into the meat of the story yet. It's a fun enough action set piece to kick off the film, but yeah, for me, it's fine. It's nothing special. Oh, look, it's Dumbledore.
Will name me.
He's so good. Joaquin Phoenix is so good in this. And the thing is too, is that looking back on this film now, you can see so much of Jack Gleeson's inspiration to play King Joffrey from Game of Thrones. It all stems from Joaquin Phoenix, and it's so good. Like, now looking back at this film, I see so much of Joffrey in Commodus. I don't know if Commodus was a source of inspiration for George R. R. Martin when he was writing Game of Thrones, and he based Joffrey off Commodus. But in an interview, Jack Gleeson did specifically point out Joaquin Phoenix as Commodus, and it's so good. His performance is so good in this film. I get why he based Joffrey off Commodus, because Joaquin is amazing in this film. Also, Commodus, stop being a creep. Like, you don't have to be near your sister like that much. Like, stop being weird, man.
People should know when they're conquered.
Would you, Quintus? Would I?
Iconic. Just what a fantastic line delivery. Would you, Quintus? Would I?
I shall sacrifice 100 bulls to honor your triumph.
Save the bulls. Honor Maximus.
God, there's so much Dumbledore in Richard Harris when I see him in this film. Like, obviously he played Dumbledore and stuff, and like the character of Marcus Aurelius, he's a small role, so he doesn't have like too much to work with. So when it's Richard Harris just, you know, doing his acting, it's Dumbledore to me.
Take my arm.
I think it is time for me to leave.
God, there's something about Commodus where like the aura, negative aura, he arrives on like the set and you're just like, this guy's trying too hard, but not to mention the fact that he's not a good guy. You can just tell he's being disingenuous. Like, he's not a powerful leader. He's not going to be a powerful ruler. He's just, you can tell something's off with him straight from the get-go. It's such a great performance from Joaquin, and also such a great character introduction. Like, even Maximus and Marcus Aurelius can just tell, they're just like, we don't like this guy. No one likes this guy. So something that this film does is that it refers to the title of the Emperor of Rome as Caesar. I don't know if that's historically correct. If it is, please let me know in the comments down below, just because I'm very curious. Because I feel like that's like artistic license for the film, but I'm not 100% sure.
There's the soil, Marcus. Black. Black like my wife's hair.
Okay, going back to the point I made earlier about Russell Crowe winning the Oscar for this. This is not me in any way, shape, or form going, he's a bad actor and his performance is bad. I love all the character stuff. He brings to Maximus in this scene and multiple other scenes, like, he's genuinely really great. Like this bit here where he's just conversing with Marcus Aurelius and just talking about his wife and his farm and his son. I love all that stuff. There is such a warmth and humanity to Maximus that you can't help but like him. You've seen him be the skilled warrior, now you get to see him be the man. There is such a humility and human essence to his character. I love it.
You're lying. I could always tell when you were lying because you were never any good at it.
Wow, Connie Nielsen really has not aged at all. Like, you see her in this and in Wonder Woman, she looks pretty much the same. You look at her in this and then the trailers for Gladiator II, she looks pretty much the same. Also, a lot of the scenes between Maximus and Lucilla, I won't lie, it makes me interested in a prequel to see this story between the two of them. Because there is a lot here that can be explored, especially Maximus's relationship to Marcus Aurelius, like how close they are. It's like, I kind of want to see a younger Maximus and his bond to Marcus Aurelius and his children, because everyone respects him, which you get through everyone's performances and such, but also I want to know the story behind it. Not to say that we have to, because again, like, the film industry right now is obsessed with like prequels and remakes and sequels. Like, we don't need it, but I'm curious to know about it. Especially how in the trailers for Gladiator II, they've revealed that Paul Mescal is Lucius. He is the bastard son of Maximus and Lucilla. Like, again, I want to know the story behind this.
Which wiser older man is to take my place?
My powers will pass to Maximus.
This is my favorite scene, actually. People go like, are you not entertained? And like, all the gladiatorial fights, husband to a murdered wife. This is my favorite scene, and a lot of it is the monologue. Joaquin Commodus' monologue, mwah, I love it so much. His delivery, the way it's written, it's so... God, you know, just thinking about the monologue from an acting perspective, it's delicious. The layers of him trying to prove the worth to his father, and then him slowly breaking down, and then him realizing, no, I'm gonna kill him. This is it. This is my breaking point. You can hear it in Joaquin's breath work. Like, you can just feel Commodus is like deteriorating. He starts off trying to be strong, but he's just like, no, I can't hold this pain. This you know, trauma inside me of wanting to live up to my father, but he just sees me as a failure.
But none of my virtues won your list. Even then, it was as if you didn't want me for your son.
But again, the layers to this scene too, he is just whining and being a bit of a bitch, but also at the same time too, it's completely empathetic and relatable and understandable. Like, Joaquin just plays it so well. Though, the thing I will say, like a mild critique of Joaquin's performance, if we will, is the fact of his British or English accent. It's a bit over the top. But then again, most American actors tend to go a bit over the top with their British accent, so I will not hold it against him, like, at all. Also, let's not just make this whole scene about Joaquin's performance, because Richard Harris is also delivering a killer performance too. His reactions are heartbreaking as a father realizing the amount of pain and trauma that his son is, but also realizing too that he kind of doesn't like his son. Like, everything he's saying is the truth, and the truth hurts. But at the same time too, you as an audience get why he doesn't respect his son.
Your faults as a son is my failure as a father.
But then there is a pain and tragedy to Commodus, to where maybe if Marcus Aurelius had been a bit of a stronger father, a bit more of a caring and empathetic father, realizing that his son is different and instead trying to nurture the differences into something, you know, more stronger and powerful, that he would be a fantastic, you know, Emperor or Caesar of Rome. God, there's such a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching tragedy to the scene. It's so beautifully written and performed. It's just, mwah.
I would put to the whole world if you would only love me.
Oh, no. I would have put you the whole world if only you would have loved me. Brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. Also, did it say somewhere that in the history books Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, was hugged to death? I don't know.
Your family will meet you in the afterlife.
Quintus, no. And then the events that follow, where Commodus frames it on Maximus, and then everyone kind of betrays him, especially Quintus. Just, this is such a beautifully written tragedy. It's such a well-written and simple revenge story. Like, all of this comes full circle by the end. It's great. In many ways, you look at the structure of this film and the basic plot points, and when you look at it, it's a very simple story. And that's why a lot of films nowadays sometimes just need to keep things simple. Like, the phrase, keep it simple, stupid, is there for a reason. It exists for a reason. And films like Gladiator are the reason why.
The frost. Sometimes it makes the blade stick.
Is that science? Do you know what? That sword throw is kind of 2000s cheese, and I kind of love it, and I also kind of miss it a little bit. Like, you only really see this in early 2000s filmmaking. This is fantastic. Russell Crowe's performance here, fantastic. The music, the choice of shot, like just seeing his wife's, you know, burnt corpse and just her feet dangling down. It's so effective. So the Maximus being carried effect, it's weird, it's kind of cheesy, but it also kind of works at the same time. Like, it does kind of create an effect of him like slipping in and out of a delirious state. Like, it works. Like, you take that single section out and it's very cheesy and goofy looking, but it fits the sequence. Like, in many ways, it doesn't read like a bad visual effect to me. It just reads as like a stylistic choice. Unlike with a lot of bad modern day CGI, where you can just tell, oh, the visual effects artists weren't given enough time to complete the effect.
Today is your most fortunate day.
Oh, he's in The Mummy, isn't he? And doesn't he also voice Watto? Or is that someone else?
That's enough for the moment. His time will come.
This moment is great because Proximo is just being observant. He's seeing Maximus willingly take a beating, knowing, oh, this guy is strong. He's just, you know, wanting to die. There's so much of a Spartacus feel to all the Gladiator stuff. I don't know, like, it's just very reminiscent of the classic Spartacus film, which I love because it feels very Spartacus, but at the same time, too, it's its own thing. Oh, hey, look, it's Paul Mescal. I mean, this isn't young Paul Mescal. I mean, he's gonna grow up in Gladiator II to be Paul Mescal.
The beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate, it's the sand of the Colosseum. You'll bring them death, and they will love him for it.
I feel like that line in many ways still holds and rings true to this day.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Mwah! Fantastic. No notes. I love how this mini arc of Maximus being like, I don't want to be Gladiator, I don't want to fight, I want to die. His mini arc of him realizing, no, I have to fight, but just so I can win the crowd, so eventually I can win my freedom. I love this little mini arc, especially the conversation he has with Proximo, where Proximo's just like, don't win the games, don't win the arena, win the crowd, win the love of the crowd.
I wasn't the best because I killed quickly. I was the best because the crowd loved me. Win the crowd, and you'll win your freedom.
Especially the way Oliver Reed delivers that line. There's such like a passion and a heart to it. Also, I haven't mentioned him yet, but German Hans is also great. I like the friendship his character has with Maximus. He doesn't really do a lot, but it's more the fact of like, yeah, he's Maximus's friend. He's cool. We like him.
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
I did not say I knew him, I said he touched me on the shoulder once.
I love this scene. This scene is just so great. I love the bond between Proximo and Maximus, where Proximo knows Maximus wants to die, but he also knows that Maximus wants to in some way seek his revenge against the Emperor, and he's just like, to do so you have to win and become a gladiator and also win your freedom. But also there's such a pathos to Proximo talking about winning his freedom. It's lovely. Oliver Reed's performance is so great. You see that gleam in his eye. I love this scene. I love the dynamic of, you know, the older mentor teaching the younger student. It's so well interplaced in the film.
Stay with me tonight.
You know I won't.
Commodus, stop being weird, man. Like, stop being a creep.
What does your father say?
My father's dead.
So this is the scene that is hinting / confirming that Maximus is Lucius's father, right?
You'll get your contract rate, so you'll get your contract cancelled.
Also, I could be completely wrong here, but I swear he's in Game of Thrones. Like, in Season 2 when they go to Karth, and he has the same eyebrows and everything.
We've got a better chance of survival if we work together.
That helmet is so cool. I love it. It just looks so good.
Slave! Will you remove your helmet and tell me your name?
Just want to say now, we all know it. This scene is iconic.
Slave! Will you remove your helmet and tell me your name?
My name is...
Javert!
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North,
Armies of the
general of the Felix Legions.
Again, I said this before, but no one remembers this scene properly. Like, we all know the scene, we all love the scene, but whenever someone tries to quote the scene, no one gets it correct. They skip out the commander of the Northern Armies and the Felix Legions, and they just go straight to husband to a murdered wife and father to a murdered son.
Servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
So good. Like, this scene is epic. And again, I love how the idea of Proximo's teachings, not to mention to the thematic idea earlier about, you know, you win the love of the crowd and you win the mob, essentially, they will rally and cheer for you. I love how this all comes into effect in this scene. So much so that essentially there is almost an uprising in Rome. I mean, there is, but there isn't, because essentially everyone by the end is against Commodus. But you know what I mean? Maximus's actions were essentially enough to stir the politics and shake the foundations of Rome. Like, it's just such an interesting thematic idea that the film portrays really well. Again, the theme is there with the wheat imagery, but Maximus's connection to the earth, to where he grabs up the soil and rubs it in his hand before every fight, I love it. It's such a great character detail of him trying to ground himself back into the present moment. Not to mention, it just looks cool as hell. So a lot of the gladiatorial fights are interesting because according to the behind the scenes stuff, you know, interviews from Russell Crowe and Ridley Scott and the filmmakers behind the scenes, they all said that a lot of the fighting on the day was made up. There wasn't really any set choreography. This film was one of those films that was being written on set, and it's just, seeing it all come together, it's amazing because it doesn't feel like it. Not to mention certain action set pieces like the tigers in the arena is really cool because those are real tigers, but they're interspliced obviously for health and safety reasons, but it blends so seamlessly into the photography. I love how much the crowd loves Maximus and they're his real shield around Commodus, because you can just see Commodus is just like, I want to kill this guy, this is so ridiculous and stupid, but he knows he can't do it because of the love of the crowd. And Commodus is so fickle that he needs the adoration of the crowd, even though it's not really adoration for him, it's adoration for Maximus, but he, the emperor, is giving Maximus the power to live. Commodus, stop being a weirdo. Stop being a creep. That's your sister. Cicero, no! God, the third act of this film does a really good job at solidifying the idea that everything goes wrong. And not to mention the fact that it's a tragedy by the end. Maximus has won the Senate. He's won the crowds. They're trying to help him usurp Commodus so that he can regain his right to be the emperor that Marcus Aurelius wanted him to be. But everything goes wrong because Commodus learns of the betrayal. It's so good. And then it all builds to that bitch move where he wounds Maximus before their gladiatorial fight. And it's... God, there's a reason why no one likes you, Commodus, because you do shit like this. What a well-written villain. What a well-portrayed villain. Just Commodus, he's one of the great cinematic villains. I love this dynamic so much. Commodus, he is a competent fighter, but he's also such a bitch that even though he has wounded Maximus, Maximus is keeping up with him. If anything, that just shows how much of a goat Maximus is, because Commodus, you little bitch. And you know, for a lot of this choreography being made up on the day, it still looks cinematically engaging. Like the cinematography, you feel in the fight, you feel the sword blows, you feel the sword strikes. It's engaging combat. Rest in piss, Commodus. No one liked you. No one likes you now. Do you know what? I say this as a tragedy, but at the same time too, it is a happy ending in the sense of that Maximus got what he wanted. He wanted to go home to his wife and son in the fields, but the fields in this case being the fields of Elysium, which I swear that's a Greek term. But at the same time too, his actions have affected the real world, not the afterlife. Like, you know, he has destabilized Rome to the sense where the people now want to overthrow the empire and make it the republic that Marcus Aurelius wanted. Or at least that's what the film sets out to. I don't know what they'll do in Gladiator II to retcon this idea, but for this film, it works great.
He was a soldier of Rome. Honor him.
He was a soldier of Rome. Honor him. See, you know Maximus won the respect of the people because he literally has won the respect of the people and everyone wants to carry him and, you know, take his body to his final resting spot. The score's incredible. Hans Zimmer did a phenomenal job. Just what a way to end the film. This final track is perfect. It's amazing. This movie is amazing. So those are my thoughts on Ridley Scott's Gladiator. It's fantastic. This movie is great. There's so many great performances. Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, just he steals the show. Cinematically, it's beautiful. It's a really simple story, but it's overall really engaging. It's a great revenge thriller, political thriller. I guess we can kind of call it that. It's a great historical epic that harkens back to the old epics like Ben-Hur and Spartacus, but it's its own thing. It's just a really well done, well made historical epic. It's fantastic. Also, not to mention, just some iconic cinema history here. Not only the Maximus Decimus Meridius father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife thing, but the Wheatfield shot, but also including Hans Zimmer's score. This film is just an iconic piece of cinema history, and for good reason. It's a fantastically made film. But those are my thoughts on Gladiator. I am looking forward to Gladiator 2, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, it's a great sequel. I do have my reservations about it, mainly the fact of why is it called Gladiator 2? Like, in many ways, this could just be its own, like, historical epic. Why does it have to be Gladiator 2? And also, you don't really need a sequel to Gladiator. Like, there are ideas there. The idea of a new Rome. How do we see this republic being formed? Do we see this republic being formed? Like, the idea is there. You could do a Gladiator 2. Not to mention the original proposed Gladiator sequel written by Nick Cave, where Maximus is in the afterlife fighting his way back to his family or to the real world or something. Sounds metal as hell, but also I want to see that being made, but at the same time too, why would that be a sequel to this film? Like, it sounds metal as hell, but why? Anyways, I digress. Those are my thoughts on Gladiator. What do you guys think about the film? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you guys excited for Gladiator 2? Do you think it has a reason for existing? Again, let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all the good stuff. Until we meet again, see you guys next time.